Alabama A&M and head coach Connell Maynor. Coach Maynor, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm pretty good, Coach. Thank you. Coach, obviously interesting week this past week, open date for you guys, a little bit of pause between your last game and your current game coming up. But if you could kind of recap the week and also preview your upcoming opponent.
Yeah, we a little bit of the same. Well, we actually thought we was going to play a game, so we was in game week preparation and all the way through Wednesday. And then we got the call about Wednesday, 6:00 p.m. That Grambling wasn't going to be able to play. And so it was deflating. Once you make it to Wednesday, you think, you're going to play. Normally it happens on Tuesday or Monday. So we kind of was expecting to play, and it was a big blow. It was a big blow. So I kind of, I gave him the next 2 days off, and I took him over to the basketball gym and shot some ball. Didn't do nothing hard, just shot around, just to give him something to do, try to get the morale up. And then Saturday, I took him over to the bowling alley for a couple hours, and we bowled and played some video games. Just trying to give him something to do, man, because we best been practicing football for a long time and only had the opportunity to play one football game. So, we healed up. We ain't played in a while, so we got everybody on board. We just got to get ready for Prairie View. Coach Dooley always does a great job. I talked to him. They're gonna spot us 7 points since they canceled last time and rescheduled. They're gonna spot us 7 points. That was very nice of him. So at least we got a fighting chance.
Appreciate those comments, Coach. We'll now open it up the floor for questions for Coach Maynor. Once again, if you do have any questions for Coach, please utilize the raise your hand feature to get your question in the queue. Coach, obviously a little bit of extra time of film preparation and study about Prairie View A&M as you get ready for your meeting with them. What are some of the things that stand out about their team?
Oh, they play hard, man. They play hard, and they play fast. That defense is flying around. Dooley is known for his offense, but that defense is playing very well right now. A little undersized, but their effort and how hard they play makes up for it. And they're everywhere. They're everywhere. And then, of course, offensively, they're going to throw the ball around. They're going to spread you out. And Dooley going to put you in some bad situation there. So we got to be ready to play, man. We haven't had a lot of game action. So hopefully we can stay in there early and have a chance at the end.
Coach, I know last time we were on the call, we talked a little bit about just the rhythm, obviously with the pauses with COVID and not really able to get a lot of game action, more practice of anything more than game action up to this point. Your practices, as far as that is concerned, obviously you can't compare a practice to a game. Have you been pleased with what you've seen out of your bunch during your practice sessions?
Yeah, I have. We hit a little bit Saturday just because we haven't done it in, teams that's played 4 games had 4 game live game speed. So we haven't had that. So we went a little bit Saturday. Not a lot of plays. Of course, it ain't like game reps when you get 70, 80 game reps, so we kept it about 20 or 30 reps. Of course, like I said, you can't match that game speed. So that's what we're missing. And we just ready to hit somebody else, play some football, man. We're tired of practicing, like Ivan said, practice? We talking about practice? So we just ready to play, man. We look forward to the challenge. It's going to be a great challenge to go to Houston, go to Prairie View and play those guys. Coach Dooley going to have them ready to go. Hostile environment. So we look forward to it, and we'll be ready.
Currently taking questions for Coach Maynor. Coach, look like we'll finish up a little bit early with your session today. As always, we thank you for joining us, and we look forward to speaking with you again next week.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Next up, we're joined by Alabama State head coach Donald Hill-Eley. This past week, the Alabama State Hornets traveled to face the Arkansas Pine Bluff Golden Lions in a contest that was eventually canceled and ruled a no contest due to inclement weather in the Pine Bluff area. As always, we're happy to be joined with Coach. Coach, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How's everyone?
Great, Coach. Appreciate you asking. Coach, obviously an interesting week. I guess you might have traveled back and been scratching your head saying if it's not the COVID, it's weather now. So could kind of recap your past weekend and talk to us a little bit about your upcoming opponent.
Well, it was a 9-hour trip for 21 minutes of football, and it was a good game. Had a good game going back and forth. Coach Gamble had his guys flying around and really doing a good job, with containing us on the defensive side. And then our defense picked up and was slowing them down some. So it was going to turn out to be a good game. But the good Lord had some thoughts otherwise, and storm came through, and we had to pretty much clear the field, and didn't look like we was going to be able to return once the tornado horn started going off. I think they did a good job of making sure that the stadium was secure and doing what was in the best interest of the student athletes, which was getting them to shelter. So it up until that point, like I said, it was a good football game.
Coach, obviously an opportunity for you to get your team back on the field this upcoming weekend. Out of conference play, South Carolina State will travel to Montgomery there for an exciting matchup. Can you preview that matchup with South Carolina State?
It's an old rivalry for myself. With Coach Buddy Pugh, he and I became head coaches together in 2002 and been longtime friends. So it'd be good to see him. But again, South Carolina State is a good program, a program that's rich in tradition, a lot of great athletes. They fly around in all three phases, and they're sound. And and we know that this is just another opportunity that they get to take the field after being idle for a few weeks. And we got our work cut out, and we got to be ready to play.
Floor is now open for questions for Coach Donald Hill-Eley. Coach, obviously we've talked with all of our coaches on these calls about the uniqueness of this season with the COVID, with the pauses, with the weather cancellations, and have also talked about just trying to get your team in a rhythm without necessarily always having that game time to do that. What are some of the things that you've worked on in practice with your team just to try to keep them in rhythm with the pauses and lack of game action?
Well, you know what? You constantly have to sudden change. And always we added more situations to our practice where we call out different units to get them used to just sudden change. And, because the timing is off once you go idle for so long, you got to go back to reteaching so many of the basics, from the blocking, the tackling to the turnovers and those kind of things. So you have to get them mentally ready for those letdowns when you get ready to play a game. Now, all of a sudden, you got to scrap that plan and something else takes the place of it. So, and then the spring is unusual anyway. As I was sharing with Coach Maynor at the earlier part of our conversation, is we normally allocated 15 days to prepare in the spring, and you probably could poll all the coaches. Most of the time, you're only going to get 11 to 10 days in, unless it's weather or something like that. So a lot of times the spring mainly becomes the time to really get strong in your academics. So just being out there practicing and trying to compete on Saturday is different, but I mean, it's proven that it's going to be beneficial in some points with a lot of these young guys getting, as I say, untimed reps where it doesn't count against the eligibility. But then on the other hand, you got a short turnaround, and then you got injuries that come from the spring that carries over to the fall that you don't have as much time to get well from. So it'll be some pluses and minuses.
Next up, we'll take a question from Jim.
Yes, you played against Jackson State, and I was wondering if there was an element of excitement for your team playing against a team coached by an NFL Hall of Famer, and what that game was like for y'all.
I think it was excitement for the whole town. I mean, we had half our fans waiting out just to get autographs from them. I mean, you had, this guy's been an icon and been on a platform that most of our students at HBCUs, including staff and administration, have rooted for him. And now you have to reprogram yourself to root against him as he's coming in to lead a team to try to beat you. And I think as we moved into the game, our guys, we prepared them all week that, we're not in attendance at a performance. We part of the performance. And if you come in late, looking on the sideline, waiting for him to come off, you're going to get hit in your face. Now, as long as you understand he's just over there with the headsets on, and you get a chance after the game to do the photos, but we want to get the signature from him after the game, and we want to compete with the 11 guys in them helmets on the field in between transition during the game. And I think our guys, they heard the message, they went out and was able to get a win.
What was your impression of the way Jackson State was coached and the way it played against you? Was it pretty competitive?
Oh yeah, very, very competitive. You're talking about a staff that hadn't had as much time as we had to prepare. They got in late. They had all the COVID restrictions that we had, and you're talking about a team that, if you look at their performance now from the production, not just what they've done in the past, but their production and yards gained, sacks allowed, points allowed. They are doing a good job, and you can see what that program is going to be once they add all these additional whistles, bells and whistles with it. But what we got to do is not watch them. We got to add some bells and whistles ourselves. The great thing about the NCAA, it only allows you to sign so many young men a year. So we get that same opportunity. We just have to match it. If he raises the bar, we got to match it and raise the bar ourselves and to be able to compete on the field week in and week out.
Thank you, Coach.
No problem.
Currently still taking questions for Coach. Coach, as always, we appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to speaking with you next week.
All right. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Next up, we will go to Grambling State. We'll be joined by Grambling State head coach Broderick Fobbs. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Coach, as always, thank you for joining us. Coach, if you please just kind of talk a little bit about, obviously, your upcoming schedule. Your game with Texas Southern for this week has been canceled. So next up, looks like it'll be the Bayou Classic for you guys. So if you can kind of recap your past week and also preview your next game.
Well, I tell you, we were excited, to try to get back on the field, to try to redeem ourselves for such a poor performance. Didn't get that opportunity to do that, but for us, at this particular time, it did give us a chance to kind of take a deep breath, kind of slow things down a little bit, evaluate ourselves, with everything that's happened thus far and figure out what's best for us going forward, here in the short term at this particular time. We know that there are some things that we will do and take care of, once the season is over. But at this particular time, the focus right now is to make sure that we put the necessary measures in place so that we can, play well and be sound, offensively in the kicking game and also defensively. So that's really what our focus is about, and making sure that we can do that.
Appreciate those comments, Coach. We'll now open up the floor for questions for Coach. Our first question comes from Jim.
Hey, Coach. It's unfortunate what happened, having to cancel the two games. Are there any concerns about the Bayou Classic at this point, or do you feel confident that you'll be ready to go for that one?
I would like to say I was confident, but, you don't know. You're just trying to, do what you can and try to impress upon your student athletes to stay out of harm's way, to make sure that they stay in quarantine and do the necessary things that it takes in order to be prepared to play. So right now at this particular time, I'm not, looking that far ahead. That's maybe 2.5 to 3 weeks away. For us, right now it's about making sure we're healthy. It's about making sure that no one else gets any positive tests, and then making sure that we get this vaccine taken care of, so that'll help us, in order to be protected.
Currently still taking questions for Coach Fobbs with Grambling State. Coach, I know one of the questions that we've asked our coaches here on these calls is just, kind of what are you doing, I guess, in practice to try to mimic game atmospheres. Obviously, with the lack of games, it's tough to simulate in practice. But what are some of the things that you've tried to work on in practice with your team just to keep them in rhythm moving forward?
Well, first thing, we got to get back on the practice field. We basically have an entire team in quarantine right now at this particular time. So everything for us is Zoom meetings and communications and talks and things of that nature, because we really can't get together to get on the field right now at this particular time. We're just trying to make sure that we are careful and making sure that everyone stays out of harm's way so that it doesn't spread anymore. We're not the only team dealing with this. There's several other programs that have gone through the same thing that we're going through at this particular time. But really right now, what we can do right now is just focus on, making sure that we stay healthy and stay out of harm's way. And then just talk about, the plan and talk about what we're doing football wise until we can do that.
Next question comes from Ken.
Coach, how are you doing, sir? Ken Rashad, HBCU Sports. Can you hear me?
Next question comes from Ken Rashad.
Okay, Coach, can you hear me?
I got you.
Yeah, I couldn't help but notice you mentioned vaccinations. How big is that issue with your players and within the department in terms of maybe getting the players and people in the staff vaccinated during this time period?
Well, it's really, really big, especially at this time when you look at the fact that, we've had to cancel 2 ball games. I'm not saying that, if our entire team was vaccinated that we wouldn't be in the same boat, but I think it does help. But also, you're always concerned about, the effects of this particular deal and what it's going to do to your kids. We're on pins and needles right now with some of our guys that, are positive, and not only that, some administrators, being positive as well. It's just one of those situations where you don't know how it's going to turn out. You hope everything turns out well. What are the side effects after they come back? Are we looking at some heart-related type incidents that we're concerned about? There's just a whole can of worry going on at this particular time, and we just want to make sure that we're healthy and we're safe at this particular time. But taking the vaccine is important. It's something that my family and wife are trying to work through to make sure that our entire team gets taken care of. But we also don't want to force anything on someone who doesn't feel comfortable taking it as well. So there's a lot of things on both sides, but we just trying to make sure we stay safe at this time so that at some point we can get back to playing football.
Next question comes from Jim.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned just wanting to get back on the practice field. Do you have a target date to where y'all can get back?
We've been targeted for the 3rd of April to try to get back out there. That's the latest that we've heard at this particular time. But that could change today. That could change tomorrow. If we get more positive tests, you don't know. But as of right now, we're targeted to get back out there on the 3rd of April.
Okay. Also, Jeremy Hickbottom reportedly put his name in the transfer portal. I was wondering what his status is.
I think he pretty much said what his status is. He wants to, move on and look for another opportunity for himself. Jeremy has been a class act for us here at Grambling State University, has worked extremely hard and has done everything the right way, and tried his best to do what we've asked of him. Of course, he was a little bit frustrated, and we all were a little bit frustrated. But at the end of the day, we gotta play with the best players, and we got to make sure that we put the best players on the field. And at the end of the day, I have no hard feelings toward Jeremy. He's a kid. He understands, and he works extremely hard. And I wish him much success.
Currently taking questions for Coach. Any final questions for Coach Fobbs? Coach, as always, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to speaking with you next week.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll be joined by Arkansas Pine Bluff head coach Doc Gamble. I believe we do have Doc on the call. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Good morning, Coach. As always, thank you for taking some time to join us. Coach, obviously this past week, challenging weather there in the Pine Bluff area forced a cancellation of your game versus Alabama State. If you could kind of open us up just with a statement about that game, and also talk a little bit about your upcoming matchup.
Well, obviously, we had to be canceled and brutal no contest, but it was off to a good start. I mean, it was. I think I heard Coach Hill said earlier, we believe it was going to be a great game between two really good football teams. They came out fast and was moving the ball pretty well. We were doing the same. You can only control the controllables. Only thing you can control is what you can control. And, of course, we can't control Mother Nature. So, but it was, we were looking forward to it. I tell you what, it was the first time I felt our kids was disappointed about change. And that's a sudden change. And I had to have a kind of a reminder pep talk that one thing is certain. Several things in life is certain, is change and constant, and change is constant. So, but we're looking forward to playing this week. So at the end of the day, it wasn't the last game of the year. We got a game coming up this week. So, of course, we go play Valley, which is another good football team. They haven't played in, I believe, 3 weeks, and a lot can change for them. And do a lot of things in 3 weeks. It's kind of going into an unknown, so to speak. The only video we've got to really watch is their game against Jackson State. But from the looks of things, they're sound, well coached, and it'd be a good challenge. And the other part about it too, in my personal opinion, is one of the toughest places to play on the road here in the SWAC. So we got a big time challenge coming up this week.
Coach, obviously, with your team off to a really hot start, I'm sure your players, were really excited to get out there on the field and face Alabama State. How frustrated were they just not to get the opportunity? Obviously, you can't control Mother Nature, but just what were some of the frustrations maybe just with not being able to go out there and finish that game?
It wasn't really. It's just something that I hadn't heard in a long time from our guys. First time, our guys usually don't complain about anything, but it was just just wanting to go back out and finish the game. Especially after Alabama State took the lead 10-3. So they just wanted to go back out, and that's just a testament to we got a competitive crew. And our guys are very competitive and wanted to go back out and to finish what we got started. So. For me personally now, you can tell Coach Hill, he can answer his phone now when I call and text him now. So now that the week has passed, so we can go back to being friends.
Appreciate that, Coach. We'll now open up the floor for questions for Coach Gamble with Arkansas Pine Bluff. Coach, obviously looking at your schedule and not trying to look too far ahead, but obviously you alluded to traveling to face Mississippi Valley State this upcoming weekend. After that, you'll have a bye week. Then you'll have 2 Western Division opponents in Prairie View and Texas Southern on your schedule just to kind of round out your conference slate for the spring. How much have you preached to your guys, obviously just in practice and in meetings, just as far as staying focused and going out and competing these last 3 games for regular season?
But we say we got 1 game seasons right now. So the only thing that matters is Mississippi Valley, and that's the only thing we'll talk about. We don't want to look forward, to anything else down the road. We just gonna be happy to be able to go out and be able to go out and play the game at the end of this week here, as long as we taking care of business. And we always say, hey, get to the next day, and then the next day get to the game day. So, and that's what we're looking forward to doing, and that's the only thing that's on our minds right now.
Currently taking questions for Coach Gamble with Arkansas Pine Bluff. Coach, my final question for you, if I had to ask you, what needs to happen this weekend for Arkansas Pine Bluff to be successful and to leave Itta with a win, what will be some of your keys to victory?
Staying focused. We got to focus. We got to stay focused, and just as the keys to any game for us is getting off to a fast start and playing well and expecting to play 4 quarters, and then overtime if needed.
Any final questions for Coach? Coach, as always, we appreciate your time. Look forward to speaking with you again next week.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're happy to be joined by Mississippi Valley State head football coach Vincent Dancy. Coach, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Outstanding, Coach. Appreciate you asking. Coach, obviously a little bit of break in the action there for the Delta Devils. You've had a slight, I say that jokingly, but you've had a little bit of a pause since your game against Jackson State. Coach, if you can kind of just walk us through, what you've worked on over the course of the past few weeks and just kind of give us an opening statement.
Yes, sir. Just making sure that we stay fundamentally sound offensively, defensively, and special teams. Wanted to go out, like I said, and have some good practice, put some great consecutive days of practices together. Offensively, of course, working on that red zone area, making sure that we can capitalize once we're in the red zone. And not turning the football over in with a touchdown or a field goal, and defensively working on getting off the field. Third down, I think third down has been our nemesis for quite some time, and so we've been working on that area. And special teams, just being on alert. Arkansas Pine Bluff, Coach Gamble does a great job in preparing his team in all 3 phases of the game, and I think they have taken advantage of most teams, especially in the special teams phase of the game, and those guys have been able to capitalize and score points in the special teams area. So we just got to be on our P's and Q's with special teams and make sure that we are understanding where we're going to be attacked in the special teams game, which is on punt and on kickoff return, and make sure that we continue to prepare for that as those guys come in to play us on Saturday.
Coach, obviously special teams, one of those 3 facets of the game, right? Offense, defense, special teams. Special teams, one of those areas sometimes overlooked but critical into the wins and losses and the success of a team on any given game day. What have you noticed about Arkansas Pine Bluff on their special teams play?
They're very aggressive. They are the aggressors, and they've been that way for the past 3 games they played. They come out, and if you're not alert on kickoff return, they'll onside kick you. If you're not alert on punt, they'll send they'll bring all 9 guys and try to block your kick. So you have to be alert. I mean, there's no field zone that they do it in. It's just they are a very aggressive team, and they're trying to capitalize off your mistakes, whether it's schematically or personnel. They're just a team that's just trying to capitalize off your mistakes and hopefully, and they want to catch it while in the area of special teams that you may not work as much. So that's a great, like I said, they've been doing a great job at it.
Currently taking questions for Coach Dancy. Once again, if you do have any questions, please utilize the raise your hand feature to get in the queue to ask Coach a question. Coach, not only another game after a couple weeks off for your team, but first home game.
Yes, sir.
Talk a little bit about the excitement just to be playing a game at home.
I think it's great. We get a chance to play at home in front of some fans, and I think our kids are very excited about it. I haven't played in a long time, especially at home, and This is our home field. This is the field that we practice on. So our guys should be very excited to play.
Currently taking questions for Coach. Coach, one of the questions that we've asked all of our coaches previously on this call today is just about rhythm. Football, much like any other sport, is about getting your team and keeping them in a rhythm. Obviously, with COVID, there's no such thing as a rhythm, right?
Right.
What are some of the things that you kind of maybe have focused on or kind of preach to them in meetings just to try to, resemble some form of rhythm, even though you haven't had a lot of games to do so?
Just continuing doing the small things right. Exactly. When we're dealing with COVID, you never know. Everything is up in the air. So you just got to continue to stay consistent. Even with your practices have to be consistent, and you want to put those consistent practice together back-to-back days in order to see what it's going to look like on Saturday, because you never know that you may not know if you're going to have another practice. You try to plan for practices, but you never know if those practices may be available. So every day, you want to try to stay consistent and get much as possible out of day as you can, because you never know what the next day may look like.
Coach, my final question for you, obviously, this conference, much like any other conference, in the FCS, is largely predicated behind the play at the signal caller position. Arkansas Pine Bluff has a dynamic one in Skylar Perry. When you've looked at your film study on him, what are some of the things that have stand out?
I'll tell you what, Skylar Perry, I had a chance to play against Skylar, my first year as a head football coach when Arkansas Pine Bluff came here his freshman year. He started for him. And this kid has done a remarkable job. The coaches have done a remarkable job in preparing this young man, and he has had to do. He has done a great job himself in dedicating himself to playing the quarterback position. His efficiency, the way he gives the timing of the offense, everything is predicated around him. He can run the ball. Of course, we got to contain him, running the ball, but his quarterback knowledge of the game has elevated so much, man, that offense is efficient with him alone. Those receivers, of course, we know they had a great receiving core, but man, I think Skylar has had a lot to do with this offense being able to be as efficient as they are, man. He's a dynamic kid. He can pass the ball well. He can run the ball. He does everything that you need him to do. And he to me, he thinks like a coach. Whatever you're in, he can make you wrong. So we just have to do a great job of playing team defense and running to the ball. It's not nothing that you could just really take away. You just have to play good sound defense, tackle well, run to the ball, and stop to limit their big play ability, because they're going to make plays, and you could believe that they're going to score some points. So we just have to stay in the game and minimize our mistakes and stop the big play and play fast football against this young man.
Coach, obviously they say one of the biggest aids for a defense performance is to have, some consistency on offense, right? To keep a lot of their hands. How critical will it be for you to be able to establish a run game against them?
That's what we want to do. We want to protect the football at first, and we want to establish our run game and take shots when we can. That's who we are, and we want to be physical. And I think you're going to see two good physical teams out there. They're physical on defense. They do a lot defensively. They're very schematic defensively. So we just got to take advantage of some times where they're out of their gaps and try to run the ball and get big with them. I think that's the thing. A lot of teams spread them out. A lot of teams went spread against them, and they're able to attack the spread with their multiple schematic defense. And so we just want to stay big, and we want to run the ball. That's what we want to do, establish the run game and see can we be more physical than they can up front.
Any final questions for Coach? Coach, as always, we appreciate your time on these calls. We look forward to speaking with you again next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Next up, we have Prairie View A&M Panthers head coach Eric Dooley. Coach, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Great, Coach. Appreciate you asking. Coach, obviously, opportunity to get your team back on the field this upcoming week. If you could just kind of recap this past week for us and give us an opening statement about your upcoming opponent.
Yeah, just like all the coaches mentioned, it's been challenging, but, you just got to take the good with the bad and just keep moving forward because it's going to be sudden change. You don't know. We can't control those elements, and we just got to be ready. So what our guys are, they've been having an opportunity to move around, practice a little bit, try to stay as close to a game-type situation as you possibly can. You can never simulate a full game, but we try, to get close to it. So just work on us. We was trying to work on our Prairie, some of the things that we had some deficiencies in. So we had an opportunity to work on some things and get another week out because we know we're going against a great opponent.
Coach, when you look at Alabama A&M on film, what are some of the things that stand out?
Well, you're going to always mention their quarterback. Their quarterback threw for a lot of yards last year. He's a guy that he's a big quarterback. He can sit in the pocket. He can spin it. He has a quick release. They like to throw the football. They push it up the field. They got some quality receivers coming back and quality running backs. So we know that when you talk about Alabama A&M, you talk about the explosive offense, but they've been playing well on defense because they got a lot of returning starters. So those guys feel good where they are. So we know it's going to be challenging in all three phases of the game.
Coach, not looking too far ahead of your schedule, but obviously you've got 2 home games back-to-back. Then you'll go on the road for your final 2 games. Just how critical in our conference, and this goes without saying, but just protecting home and getting those wins on your home turf when you have the opportunity.
Just like everyone would always allude, we try to go one game at a time. What's important right now is the Alabama A&M game that we had to reschedule, and now fortunate enough we get an opportunity to play it. So we're just moving forward and letting those guys know that, hey, just control what we can control. That's the next game, and that game is April the 3rd, and look forward to go out and competing.
Appreciate that, Coach. We'll open up the floor for questions for Coach Dooley. Once again, if you do have any questions, please utilize the raise your hand feature to get in the queue to ask Coach a question. Coach, you've touched on several of these items already, but just to kind of recap and bring it all back together, if I were to ask you what would be critical for your team this week in order to emerge victorious, what would you say?
Well, we can't continue to have those turnovers. We can't give a team that has an explosive offense such as Alabama A&M to continue to give them the football. So we got to be able to protect the football, and then we just got to be able to get off the field on third downs defensively.
We'll now take a question from Stephen.
Hey, Coach Dooley, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. Just wanted to just check in with you guys. Obviously, you've had to sit out the last couple of weeks with the COVID situation. Coming into the season, you knew that this was a possibility just because of where we are with the pandemic and everything like that. Having gone through it now, what are some of the lessons that you have learned, and how do you think that it impacted your team, either positively or some challenges that it presented you guys with?
Well, it always impacts the team because you have certain individuals that may have to set out, and these young men have been practicing hard for, you're talking about days, months and months. So it's kind of disappointing to a lot of the guys, but we understand the situation that we're in. We're not the only team that, it helps out a whole lot that we're not the only team in the country that's going through this here. So we understand that the most important thing to us that everyone is healthy, the mental aspect as well. So that's the thing that we try to concentrate on, and we just let those guys know it could be a sudden change, and whatever it is, we have to make those adjustments and move forward. We can't continue to look in the rearview mirror and move forward. So, we put it behind us and make the best of the situation that we have and just hope for the best.
And lastly, as a coach, but obviously you guys started the year 2 wins. You like to keep that momentum. I guess it's akin to like having a bye week, right? A regular bye. Is it kind of like having a regular bye week where you try to keep as much as in in position as you can, or because again you have to, because of this virus, is how much different is it than that?
Well, it's a huge difference to me because, when you have to set out guys and get guys away, then you don't have everyone in practice. So it's not like a bye week. In practice, in a bye week, you get opportunity to practice. You may give them a couple of days off. Or here, where you talk about when a team is quarantined or individuals are quarantined, you don't have those same individuals out there. So you have to make adjustments with the guys that are out there, make sure that the health is there, the conditioning phase of it. So it's a little different. It's challenging, but, we work through it. I think we got the people that's surrounding us, that's putting us in the best situation possible. So we just continue to move forward.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Currently taking questions for Coach. Any final questions for Coach Dooley? Coach, as always, we appreciate your time. We look forward to speaking with you next week.
Thanks for having me.
Next up, we're joined by Southern University head football coach Dawson Odums. Coach, good morning.
Oh, good morning. How you guys doing?
Great, Coach. Appreciate you asking. Coach, you could please just start us out with an opening statement and also just kind of preview your upcoming matchup, if you would.
We come off another bye week and just try to get our football team better, get healthy, just work on the Jags. And I think every coach has a different plan during the bye week. We have a plan. We adjust that plan, and we try to make sure that
we'll get Coach back in here on the media session here momentarily. I believe we might have lost connection. All right, we'll let Coach back in right now. Coach, can you hear?
Yeah, sorry about that. Got disconnected.
Oh, no problem, Coach.
I was saying, yeah, just getting our plan ready and just making sure that we get our guys healthy. You don't get another break in between the end of the season. So just try to really get some guys back healthy, work on some fundamentals, and just see what we could improve as a football team. We played better the last time out, but it's a lot of room for improvement, and we're going to need to improve when we play a really good Jackson State football team.
Appreciate those comments, Coach. We'll open up the floor for questions. Our first question comes from Rashad.
Hey, Coach. How you doing today?
Hey, Rashad. How you doing?
I'm doing well. My question for you is, just how different is it this year, kind of preparing to face a conference rival in a non-conference setting?
Well, it's always good. I think anytime Southern University and Jackson State can take on each other, I think it's great for our conference. It's great for the fan bases, and it's really great. This is going to be a nationally televised game, and it gives both teams a chance to showcase their talents. Coach Sanders has done a great job putting the team together. They play hard, and you can see it. And it ought to be a good football game. Ought to be good for TV. Two really good football teams competing, and we're looking forward to the challenge. But I think it's like any other day. I think Jackson State and Southern University could play in the summer, and fans will be excited about it.
And what do you really like in particular about, or what have you seen rather with Jackson State film so far?
Well, very talented. When you look at their offensive side of the ball, it starts with their quarterback. When he's on, they're as good as anybody. He has some weapons. Number 4 has been really, really dynamic at quarterback. He's done a great job of just moving that team up and down the field. But it starts with those wideouts, 6, 9, and 10. That's Newman, Reed, and Baldwin. They make plays, and they're exciting football players, and they get their offense going. But I really think the running game is where they probably don't get a lot of credit for, but they have some running backs that they rotate in and out of there that really make their offense tough. And then the tight end, he's very dynamic. I think Richie move around a lot. They line him up at different places. He's done an outstanding job, and they're very good. They're very good at their scheme, and they do a good job of being who they are. And that's a testament to their coaching staff and those players buying in. But defensively, I've been a fan of Hampton since he's been there. He's always been one of the better players, and he's off to a great start this spring. And then you have Warren playing corner, who's been dynamic. So they have some good players. And I think when you look at their team offensively, it starts with their O-line. Those skills guys wouldn't have a chance to be successful. And then defensively, I think it starts with their D-line. And those are two very dominating groups for those both sides of the ball.
Next question comes from Jim.
Hey, Coach, do you remember what your reaction was when you heard Deion Sanders was taking the coaching job at Jackson State?
Great for the conference, Jim. I think it's always great to see excitement come. I think when you get the caliber person of Coach Sanders coming into our conference, it does great things for us, and it does great things for Jackson State, and it brings a lot of notoriety to our conference that we may or may not have had before. But at the end of the day, it's just good to see. It's good to see that he's on the sidelines and getting an opportunity to be a coach. And I know that's something he embraced. And we just looking forward to playing against a very good football team. And they've done a great job with their staff of getting that football team ready to play.
And the other question I have is, are you getting a little concerned with all the postponements and cancellations and the league kind of starting to run out of time? Do you have an understanding if the schedules end up unbalanced, how they're going to decide who, the champions of each division?
We talked about it in the head coaches meeting. There will be some things factored in there. Strength of schedule and total games played, all those things will be taken into account. And we knew that when we started the season, we were hopeful that we could get all the games played, but we knew during COVID, nothing is predictable. So we have to adjust and we have to adapt, and some things will be taken into consideration. And one of those things is total games played. But that'll be one of the last results that we talk about as a conference and the staff. But I do think those conversations will start to take place as we get closer to the end of the season.
When you say total games played, you mean like even a game, for instance, the one you're playing this week with Jackson State could figure into the division race?
I don't know if that game will be figured into the division race. Everybody was slated to play, I think, 6 games. So it'd be based on probably those 6 games played that each team were set at the beginning of the year to play.
Okay.
Next question comes from Steven.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Steven?
Doing great. Just wanted to ask you, obviously, like you said, Jackson State Southern is always a big deal, no matter when it's played or what the records are. And you guys have pretty much owned them, But as we look into this spring game right here, obviously, different situation with them, and obviously you're trying to keep your team focused on how do you keep your team focused on just the game and not getting caught up in the fact that they're on the big ESPN, or the fact that, Jackson State and all the attention now that comes with playing them. How do you keep them focused on that aspect when obviously they are around, they absorb all the media, they see all the media and everything that comes with playing Jackson State, especially right now?
Well, I think when you have a football team that's been in big games and you have a culture that's created, you have great leadership in your locker room, I think you have an understanding of the expectations. And as a coaching staff, you have to control that message. You have to make sure that from a mindset standpoint, your guys are where they need to be. And I think we've been able to do that since we've been here. And I don't see this game being no different. You got to play football at the end of the day, and you're going to get an opportunity to do it. And regardless what the platform is, you have to be ready to play well. And that's going to be our challenge to our guys, is just making sure mentally we're where we need to be in order to be a successful football team. All the other stuff surrounding the game, that's for fans. That has nothing to do with the outcome of the game or the preparation of the game. So we have to make sure mentally we're locked in and we're ready to go. And we've been doing a good job of getting our team focused, and hopefully we can continue to do that this week.
Thanks, Coach.
Next question comes from Kevin.
Hey, Coach, at the beginning of the year, you mentioned how tough this spring season was going to be. Now that you're halfway through the schedule, where do you kind of, evaluate how things are going and just how your ball club has been performing?
Yeah, we just try to make it one more day, man. We just try to somehow just thank the Lord for today and keep our prayers up, making sure that everyone is safe. And you don't know what phone call you go get in relations to this pandemic or anything else that's going on in life. So we're very grateful and thankful to be able to have the opportunity to play. We're very thankful that our guys are trying to do the right things, but we're not dealing with something that wrong or right. When you come to cover it doesn't matter. You can do all the things right and still end up with issues. And that's what we're finding out. The best thing we can do as a team is stay together. We always emphasize the things that they need to do to be safe during this pandemic, and just making sure the message. I think the message has to be clear and consistent, and that's what we've been able to do this spring, is have a clear and consistent message, and the understanding of the expectations of what we expect from them as players, and also and how to go about coping with this pandemic. It's always something. You don't know whether a family member that's not here is going to call, and they receive that phone call late at night that an auntie or an uncle or anybody that has been affected by this pandemic. So we have to understand that as coaches, and you have to put the right things in place. But it takes a lot of love to be able to play in the spring and play during this season. And we're grateful to have that kind of love in our locker room.
Our final question for Coach Odums goes to Rashad.
Yes, Coach. Jordan Lewis has been pretty dominant. He leads the SWAC right now in sacks. What's been the key to his success this season?
Jordan Lewis is he has a gift, and he utilizes his gift. He's one of the better football players in our conference, and when he's on, he's as good as anybody. He comes to work. It's natural for him. He was a high hurdler. He's got unbelievable talent, unbelievable speed, and you can't really tell it on film. If I was an opponent and I watch film, I would look at him and just say, he can't be that good. But when you coach him and you see it every day at practice, you have to understand that he's a very good football player that possesses a skill set that a lot of people don't have. And we're grateful that he's on our football team because I believe he's one of those guys. Just like Hampton, you have to say, where's that guy at? Where's he lined up at? Just like Warren, you have to ask yourself, where are these guys at? Because they make plays. I think when you make plays, you go on other coaches' radar. And Jordan Lewis is one of those guys for Southern University that has made plays in his entire career.
Coach, as always, we appreciate your time. We look forward to speaking with you next week.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Coach James.
Next up, we'll be joined by Texas Southern head coach Clarence McKinney. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Coach, as always, thank you so much for taking some time to join us. Coach, if you could just kind of start us out with an opening statement. Obviously, no game for your team this past week, but if you can just kind of recap the status of your program and also talk a little bit about your upcoming matchup.
Yeah, there's no game to talk about from last week, and our game that was scheduled this week has been canceled with Grambling State. So at this time, our guys are just focusing on healing and the fundamentals. We're getting back to the fundamentals of the game and relearning blocking, tackling, and execution.
Appreciate that, Coach. We'll now open it up for questions for Coach McKinney with the Texas Southern Tigers. Coach, you obviously alluded to the fact that there is no game. Obviously, your game with Grambling State for this week canceled. That following week was going to be a bye week in your schedule. Next game on the schedule looks like will be Mississippi Valley State for you guys. If you can kind of talk a little bit about maybe what kind of some of the preparation and some of the things that you've seen from them on film up to this point.
They're a very tough team, tough opponent, very physical. They're sound in their scheme, sound in what they do. And, they're really, really competitive. They play hard, and it's going to be a challenge for us.
Currently taking questions for Coach McKinney with Texas Southern. Coach, obviously, we've talked to all of our coaches on this call just about the pauses with COVID. Obviously you had a game that was scheduled for this week that's going to be canceled. What are some of the things that you've kind of just preached to your guys, maybe just about staying focused and just trying to keep them in the best way you can through practices?
Yeah, well, it's been going on for over a year now, and the message has been the same. It's control what you can control. The pandemic is something that we can't control. We focus on trying to be healthy and safe during this time. And we understand that people are going to have issues. We're not immune to it, and we just adapt and adjust to sudden change. And it's just something that happens in life, and out there on the football field as well. You have to adapt and adjust. Those are the things that we've experienced.
We'll now take a question from Stephen.
Hey, Coach McKinney, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, Stephen?
Good. Just wanted to ask you, a lot of schools opted out of taking a spring season overall, because of the issues that could come like this, among other things. And some people, despite some of the great pros that come with it, there are a lot of people who see cons and drawbacks. What as a football coach who's gone through a regular calendar year where you have a spring schedule and you have spring practice and all of that, and then you get into the season in the fall. At this point in the game, what have you learned? Have there been any advantages and things that you've learned that you wouldn't really know if you were just in the traditional spring season? Like, have you learned more from having a couple of games under your belt and seeing guys, maybe new guys, or how guys have evolved in actual live situations than you would in practice from your vantage point?
Good question, Stephen. I think they're both pros and cons to playing this season. For us, we have a young team, and playing in games is priceless. You can't put a price on the experience that young kids will get from playing in games. But what you also have to look at from a con standpoint is you're not really preparing off-season conditioning for the upcoming fall season. So you got to kind of weigh the pros and the cons. But in our situation, I think it's best for us to play right now and get those guys that experience. So once we do get to the fall season, we'll be that much better as a team, we feel like.
Any final questions for Coach? Coach McKinney, as always, we appreciate you taking some time to join us, and we look forward to speaking with you again next week.
Thank you for having us.
How you doing, guys?
Morning, Coach. How are you?
Morning. How you doing? Let's do this.
Thank you for joining us. Once again, for our media, if you do have questions for Coach, please utilize the raise your hand feature here on Zoom to get your question in the queue for Coach. Coach, obviously a bye week for your team this past week. If you could start us out with an opening statement recapping your bye week.
Bye week was phenomenal. We got some good work, quick, fast, tough discipline work on the field. We practice every day. We only took our practices probably an hour and a half at the most, caught up on conditioning, recanted the game, and fixed some things that we need to bring solvency to. But we're happy. Kids got out, home, had a great time. We questioned them about who had a great time. Somebody, mama cooked up a storm. Somebody, other family members, one of the kids met his daughter for the first time. Another kid brought half the kids over to his home and mama cooked. So it was great. It was some great time. Somebody fished, somebody did that. So I loved hearing all the stories of the guys going back home, reuniting with their families, friends, and loved ones, because it's a different feel, it's a different feeling, different expectation. Back to focus on the wonderful Southern. Wonderful rivalry. I cannot wait to really see it myself and face it and feel it and touch it. I love it. I love everything. They're well coached, great team. They get to the ball defensively, offensively. They pose some threats with, zone reads. Quarterback presents a good problem for us, but something that we got to be able to handle. But I'm happy, man. I love rivalries. I love these type of games. I can't wait to be involved in it.
Appreciate those comments, Coach. We'll now open up the floor for questions from our media. Our first question goes to Rashad.
You're muted, my brother.
Good morning, Coach. How are you doing today?
Good morning, sir.
My first question for you is, this is the last non-conference game of the season. Just what do you really want to take into that going into, back into SWAC play next week?
We don't really think about the conference and the non-conferences at this point. We think about the football game and what they come with, man. They are a tremendously, fundamentally sound team, well-coached team. They get after it. Big game in history of Southern and JSU has been big, enormous games, which is pretty much like a classic, you would say. We don't care about the conference and the non-conference. We want to win the game. We want to perform well.
And this morning you tweeted about needing a bus relationship and stuff for passengers. Yeah. I just wanted to know, kind of a little more about that. Was it related to the team?
No, my family need a bus. There you go. Thank you. You're always looking for some bull junk, man. Every darn week you look for some bull. You go to TMZ or Barstool. We got, Barstool, we got a job. Y'all want to hire? You look for some bull junk every darn week, man. You keep on looking, you're going to find something. And they ain't going to be with us. You try, though. You do. Yes, you do. Next guy, man.
Next question goes to Steven.
How you doing, Coach Sanders?
How you doing, my man?
Doing great. Yeah, guys had the week off. Get a chance to breathe a little bit because you guys have been going kind of full throttle since you got there. Everything's new. Talk about the health. Obviously you guys had, I think, played 4 weeks in a row pretty much. Just talk about the opportunity for you guys to maybe get some of that health and add in with the conditioning and how you think that'll help you as you take on a Southern team that has a pretty, especially in the passing game, that has a pretty good pass rush.
Well, we've had several guys that are going to have surgeries and they're no longer playing this spring. We have some guys banged up, which we needed a break. We needed a breather, and we got it. We pretty much take care of the guys anyway, the way we practice, the way we go about practice. But shoot, health is everything, man. Health is everything. So just to get fresh legs up under us, and today we went out there and had a good, quick practice. They conditioned their butts off before they left. They conditioned their butts off today. We're feeling really good right now with where we are physically as well. Our quarterback, Jalen, got a chance to heal up over the weekend as well as some other positions. So we're feeling pretty good health-wise.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, sir.
Next question comes from Kevin.
Hey, Coach. Kevin Baptiste out of WAFB in Baton Rouge. You said how you can't wait to see this rivalry firsthand of Southern and Jackson State. Just what have you been told about it from fans and alumni alike about how serious this rivalry is?
Well, I haven't had the honor and the pleasure to sit down with fans and just talk about the different rivalries. I don't think we're going to get to that point ever. But just watching film, doing my homework, reading some clippings of that Dennis has forwarded me, It's a wonderful rivalry, man, but you don't know until you get in it. You know, when I was at Florida State, you don't know the rivalry between Miami and Florida until you get in it, until you own that field. So I'm pretty sure this has all the intangibles that those other rivals that were mentioned at my previous school that played college football at Florida State. I would say my alma mater, but I graduated from HBCU in Talladega.
Next question comes from Jim.
Yeah, Coach, I'd like to ask your opinion of a couple of Southern players. I'm sure they've come up on film. Ladarius Skelton, their quarterback, and then Jordan Lewis, the defensive end.
Well, first and foremost, Skelton, he's a qualified runner. The guy makes it happen. I think he's averaging 5 yards a carry, if I'm not mistaken. He's doing his job. The big defense, the defensive end, he can get after it, man. You know, arm over, spin moves, quick with his feet, applies pressure at all times. Not a big guy though, but I love what he does. I love his energy. I love the way he plays the game. One thing that I found out about SWAC football, man, HBCU football, there's some guys that can really play in the NFL. They just need to be seen, noticed, recognized, and given the opportunity. These guys can play.
Does Skelton remind you of anybody you played against or have seen before?
I haven't seen him yet. I got to see it live, baby. I got to see it live. Film. Sometimes film lie to you and cry to you. I need to see it. I got to see it on grass. But what I've seen thus far on film, the kid can play.
We'll take another question from Steven.
Coach, real quick question for you. I know before the Grambling game, you know, you addressed the fact that, you know, recent history hadn't been on your side, and that didn't have anything to do with the current crop of players. This game, again, is another rival that has, you know, kind of had the number in the past.
Right.
Do you feel that you'll need to give that same speech again, that similar speech again this week? Or do you think maybe that Grambling thing, the Grambling speech that you gave, will carry over to this game as well?
Well, nothing don't carry overs with this generation. You know that. This generation has to be reiterated and reaffirmed and recommitted and rededicated and all of that. So I don't know what I'm going to say before the game. I don't know what I'm going to say from day to day, really. It just comes out of the spirit, and that's why I keep my spirit full. And I was watching film and meeting with different persons before we even got on this call. But I cannot wait, man. I love it. I love the things that I'm reading. 66 times the two teams met on the gridiron. I love it. On the winning streak, top of the longest in the series history. I love it. I love it. I do, man. Since 2013, JSU is 2-12 versus Southern and Grambling. I love that kind of stuff. I mean, that's bulletin board material, but if you need a bulletin board to get you ready to play, there's a problem with your personnel. You shouldn't have a bulletin board getting you ready to play. Or one of my speeches. You should be ready anyway.
Any final questions for Coach? Coach, as always, we appreciate your time. We look forward to speaking with you again next week.
Hey, God bless you all, man. I love JSU, man. We on to something. HBCU, y'all keep doing your thing, man. I'm proud of each and every one of y'all, man. You ask wonderful questions. You're doing your thing, man. Let's just keep pushing the envelope and taking this thing up, because now we're starting to get the exposure, not because of me, because of these kids, because of you. We're starting to get the exposure that we deserve, man. God bless y'all.
Appreciate it, Coach. This concludes our media session.